My name is Mira, and I will tell you the truth. Did they hide a secret about the house for 10 years? My mother-in-law made me sleep on the kitchen floor in my own husband's house. I felt small and cold. I was young and afraid. I loved my husband and I trusted him, but he did not stop her. I felt betrayed when I saw her face each morning. My hands shook when I cooked. I held a thin blanket and I counted the days. Suddenly, one night, I found something hidden that changed everything. My name is Mira. I am 30 years old. I tell this story as a child in my voice. I remember the first night in my husband's house. His mother said I had to sleep on the kitchen floor. She said the guest room was for them. She said it in a cold voice. I felt ashamed. I wrapped my thin blanket and slept near the stove. My husband, Raj, was quiet. He told me he would speak later. He never spoke. Days passed. I woke early and cleaned the pots. I cooked simple food. I kept my head down. I washed the floors and my hands grew red. The neighbors saw my bruises. They asked, but I lied. We are fine, I said. I feared trouble. My childhood memory of my own mother was bright and soft. Here the house felt like a test. The heirloom clock on the wall stayed loud. It marked time and my small pain. Sometimes I heard my mother-in-law laugh. The laugh cut me like cold wind. Her sister and her estranged brother came to visit once. They talked about inheritance and a will. I did not understand then. I only knew the kitchen floor and the small cup I drank tea from. I learned to hide my tears in the yard. I learned to smile at Raj's father when he came home. He was kind but weak. He kept his stories in the attic. One rainy night I climbed the attic stairs to hide. I saw a box of old papers. I thought of my own small family. I thought of my sister and a distant reunion I never had. I held one paper and my heart beat fast. I read one line and I became afraid. I held the paper tight. I ran down the stairs and my mother-in-law saw my hands. She asked, "What do you have?" I did not answer. She took the paper and read it slowly. Her face turned pale, then hard. "This is old news," she said. But her voice shook. I felt a new fear. I felt there was a secret in our home. I wanted to ask Raj. He stood in the door but he did not move. He said, "Not now." I thought, however, that my life must change. The paper was a small key to a big door. That night I slept on the floor with the key in my head. I did not know the door would open soon. The next day I could not stop thinking about the paper. I wanted to ask my husband. I wanted to ask him many questions. I remembered the words on the paper. It was a page from a will. The paper said a man left his house to a name. The name was not clear at first. I felt a slow heat in my chest. I showed the paper to Raj at breakfast. He looked away. "We must not touch that," he said. His voice was thin. I saw fear in his eyes. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know who the will named. Later I opened the attic box again. I found another letter. It said the old man left an heirloom to a young woman. It said he wanted the house to be fair. I read the name. My name was on the paper. My hands went cold. I sat down on the attic floor. I felt strange. I felt lucky and afraid. I thought about a legal paper. I thought about inheritance and law. I thought of divorce papers I had never seen. I thought of custody and rights. I felt the word heirloom in my mouth. Could this be true? I ran downstairs with the papers. The mother-in-law was in the kitchen. I held out the paper. She took it with her thin fingers. She read and laughed, but her laugh was sharp. "This is nothing," she said. "The old man wrote many things. He changed his mind." Her voice hit me like a stone. I looked at her and I saw another woman. She was small and tired, but her eyes were cold. I felt betrayed again. I asked Raj to call a lawyer. He hesitated. He said, "We will talk tomorrow." The next day a man came to the house. He was a lawyer. He opened the papers and he looked at the will. He counted the dates and the stamps. He said calmly, "This will is legal if we prove its sign." My mother-in-law walked away from the table. She said nothing. Her sister came and she spoke in a low voice. They discussed the old man's estate. They spoke of an attic and hidden papers. They spoke of estranged siblings who wanted more. I felt the room grow small. The neighbors whispered in the street. A cousin said something about a reunion years ago. My mind moved to the time when my husband and I first married. At that time I slept on a proper bed in my father's house. I remembered my mother's hands. Now those memories were sharp and bright. The next day the lawyer asked me questions. He asked, "Why did you hide the papers?" I said honestly, "I did not hide them. I found them and I was afraid." He nodded and he wrote down small notes. The mother-in-law watched him like a hawk. She planned something, but I did not know what. The house felt heavy. The clock ticked in the hallway. The small heirloom on the shelf seemed to watch me. I felt that a storm was near. That night my husband did not sleep. He sat at the table for hours. Finally he said, "Mira, I will stand by you." I wanted to believe him. But later I found him asleep on the couch. The next morning he was gone. He left a note. The note said he had to travel for work. He said he would return soon. I felt alone. The mother-in-law smiled and asked me if I wanted tea. I smiled and I said nothing. I held the papers tight and I waited for the truth to come out. Days passed and the house grew colder. The lawyer returned with a copy of the will. He said the signature might be real. He said we must prove the old man wrote it. My mother-in-law became loud and angry. She spoke about the old man as if she owned him. She said, "This family always needs me." She tried to burn a page in the kitchen bin that night. I saw her hand. I took the page back. I whispered to myself, "No, I will not let you burn the truth." The next day a neighbor named Anil came. He was an old friend of the family. He carried a small box. He said, "I kept this after the funeral. The attic has more papers." We opened the box together. Inside was a small journal. The journal was the old man's diary. It told simple things. It told about a promise he made to a young woman years ago. He promised to leave a small part of the house to her if she needed it. He wrote the woman's name and a memory of her thick black braid. He wrote the name Mira, but he wrote about a childhood help. The neighbor's eyes filled with tears. He said, "This is the truth." My mother-in-law's face went white. She said, "That journal is fake." She ran to the phone. She called a cousin and she lied. The cousin came with a stack of papers. He claimed the will had a new note that changed the name. He showed a paper with a stamp. I felt dizzy. Then the lawyer asked for one more thing. He asked the postman who delivered the notes long ago. The postman came and he remembered the day. He said he saw the old man sign the will at the small table near the window. He said the old man looked at Mira's picture in a small frame and smiled. The room fell silent. The mother-in-law began to cry. Her cries were loud and full of anger. She screamed, "Why did you make me sleep on the floor?" The words were like stones. Then she said, "I did it to protect the house. I thought you would leave and I wanted the house to stay in the family." Her voice broke. She told the truth. She told how she was afraid of losing the house. She had no money. She had an estranged sibling who wanted the will. She had no one. I listened with a heavy heart. I felt both anger and pity. The irony hit me. She tormented me to hold on to a house that a stranger had promised to me. She hurt me to keep fear away. The judge read the papers in court. He asked if anyone had hidden a will before. The truth about the attic and the journal came out. The judge said the papers were legal. I was named a small heir. I got a share of the house and a small gold heirloom the old man kept. My husband called from the station. He said he could not face his mother. He said he needed time. I felt alone but strong. In the end, the house was mine in part. The mother-in-law stood in the doorway. Her face was empty. The neighbors whispered about betrayal and forgiveness. I felt my past and my childhood join. I thought of a possible reunion with my sister. The court said the will was fair. The house would stay in the family, but I had rights. My name was on the papers. I could keep the small heirloom. I could leave the kitchen floor. I packed my few things that night. As I moved my blanket, I looked at the small gold chain on my neck. It was warm. I thought of one lesson. Sometimes the truth hides in the attic. Sometimes the person who hurts you is afraid too. The irony was clear. The one who caused my pain lost her calm and her truth. I walked out of the kitchen and I slept on a proper bed for the first time in 10 years. Now I live with quiet joy. I keep the small heirloom in a safe place. I keep the journal pages in my drawer. I do not want revenge. I choose a soft lesson instead. I learned that endurance can bring truth. I learned that a secret may break a heart, but the truth can heal. My mother-in-law moved to a small room in our home. She is quiet now. She came to me one morning and she said, "I am sorry." I felt a hard knot in my chest. I could have shouted. I chose to say, "I forgive you." Forgiveness is for me, not for her. It frees my hands to help my child, if I have one. I also learned legal words like will and inheritance and custody. I learned that papers in an attic can change a life. My story is for you, English learner. Be brave. Read signs. Ask for help when you feel betrayed. Hold on to hope. Keep simple words like truth, brave, and forgive in your heart. Subscribe for a new English story every day. Thank you for listening.